I don't understand why somebody can sort of willy-nilly throw out a suggestion. And so I think Mr. Poilievre has some explaining to do.
Well, welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today we've got one of Trudeau's ministers just saying something really stupid, calling out Pierre Poilievre on quite possibly the dumbest thing ever. We've got more ridiculous Trudeau liberal spending, creating propaganda films. We got Jordan Peterson absolutely obliterating Mark Carney and the WF. His description is an absolute knee slapper. Let's jump into this. First off, we've got Captain Schmuck here. It says Justin Trudeau traveled to Paris, Brussels for AI summit meetings with European allies. He also went to Poland back when he resigned or intended to resign. This is exactly what I said he would do. He started gallivanting around, taking lavish trips, eating lavish meals on our dime here. He'll begin his trip in Paris with the 3rd annual AI Action Summit, where he'll focus on protecting AI innovation while ensuring it's developed responsibly. Yeah, right. These guys are doing nothing here but wasting money. Got this one from Table Salt. It says report Canada has removed ankle bracelet requirement for Arsh Dalla. So this is the guy I reported on back, I believe, on Christmas Eve or maybe the 23rd, the terror lord from India. This is one of India's most wanted, and he has his ankle bracelet removed in Canada because woke till we're broke, or woke till we're all gone. In India, he's wanted for allegedly chief of Khalistan Tiger KTF force. Yeah, so he's the guy who took over for the other guy that got whacked, and then be involved in ending some Congress member. The Liberals refused to extradite people to India. Modi asked, Trudeau refused. I think Singh is in his ear. We got this one too from Project Transparency. It says Canada plans to spend $2.4 billion this year on IT services across government to digitally enable government programs. That's equivalent to hiring 12,000 Waterloo software engineers graduates at $200K per year. Yeah, I think we're gonna need Doge in Canada here, because this seems like a little bit of overkill. Jeepers, Canada need a Doge, and we need it yesterday. $2.4 billion could fund some of the most exceptional technology. How is this possible? We got this one from Ryan Garrettson. Says Karina has to come up with $125,000 by tomorrow at 5 p.m. So this is the next installment of the Liberal leadership race. She says the Liberal Party purposely wanted to make the field of candidates small. Sounds like trouble in Liberal paradise. So there was a clip of her saying this. I go through so many clips, but we don't need to bother looking at her. She's not important at all, but it is funny. She's complaining about this now. It's likely that she's going to drop out of the race, and she'll probably throw her support behind Mark Carney. That's because they don't want her. They already have their next PM. I mean, Carney's already taking meetings and stuff. Highly corrupt. Next up, we got Canada posting this interview here of Jordan Peterson. He absolutely goes scorched earth here on Mark Carney.
But still dangerously powerful Liberals. One Mark Carney is one of the world's prime advocates of the insane inanities of net zero. He is a man who has planned in writing, not least in his best-selling book, Values, the complete destruction of the fossil fuel industry. Bye-bye, Alberta, if that's not bad enough. And it is. He's also simultaneously an advocate of the same post-national view of Canada defined by Trudeau Jr. and his moralistic minions. What are we, according to such good thinkers? Nothing. But if anything, the oppressive, patriarchal, white, supremacist, identityless, colonial settler state defined by the progressive ideologues in the think tanks and elite dining rooms in Eastern Canada and the protest encampments on the campuses of Canadian universities. None of this fills the MAGA crowd with admiration, in case it needs to be said. None of it bodes well either for the economy of Canada, doomed to replacement, according to Carney, by the hydrogen, solar, and wind power that either does not exist, that would be hydrogen, or that would doom Canadians to starve and freeze in the dark if it ever came to replace the reliable grid and transportation we all so desperately depend on when it's 40 bloody below. We may, when arguing so expensively and incompetently with the Americans, continue to congratulate ourselves on our comparative righteousness. That diet will become even thinner gruel, however, in a future characterized by their explosive economic growth and our rapid descent toward comparative poverty and irrelevance, green though that pathway may be argued, however falsely to be. Carney, to put it bluntly, is not a man like Justin Trudeau, a second-rater, under the mere influence of the World Economic Forum, that Malthusian fear-mongering cabal of authoritarian elitists, drunk on the fumes of their own self-righteous delusions. He is By contrast, a veritable leader of that movement.
That is the greatest description of the World Economic Forum I've ever heard in my life.
That Malthusian fear-mongering cabal of authoritarian elitists, drunk on the fumes of their own self-righteous delusions.
Drunk on the fumes of their own self-righteous delusions. That's exactly what this group is. That was good. That was really good. A+ description. His whole speech here about Mark Carney, he's worse than Justin Trudeau. He's got a sinister plan. He's trying to twist his whole carbon plan, so he's still the carbon guy, but he's not going to hurt Canadians with it. Not anymore. No. Just the big polluters. That won't affect you guys. Not at all. He's going to keep jacking up that carbon tax on industry until industry is going to move down to America. That's what's going to happen. Trump's going to be slashing the capital gains on everything, making a ripe environment for Canadian businesses to jump down to America. I love Dr. Peterson. Carney's just Trudeau on steroids. If Canada elects him, we are going to be in trouble. We got this one here, Trudeau's Minister of Public Safety, David McGuinty, saying more stupid things. He's really getting a good opportunity here to do some catch up with the rest of the Liberals.
Why should the longest undefended border in the world, which we pride ourselves in having, 400,000 people a day cross the border back and forth, billions of dollars of trade back and forth, jobs at stake? I don't understand why somebody can sort of willy-nilly throw out a suggestion that the entire Canadian border should be militarized. I don't think that's predicated on fact or evidence. We have incredibly strong teams, a strong border, which is getting stronger. The RCMP, the CBSA, conservation officers, Indigenous police, provincial police forces.
How is it getting stronger if you're not putting more guards, more units at the border? What is he even saying here? Well, what does he want? The border to have nothing, no one there? In a utopian world, sure, but it seems we've got way too many people jumping the border with all the street fennel, the pew-pews, all sorts of stuff. People need to be caught at the border and then put into jails or deported.
Municipal police forces are cooperating. This is an important moment because we have jobs at stake. And so I think Mr. Poilievre has some explaining to do.
He's got some explaining to do for wanting to put more boots at the border. Did he just say that? This guy, every time he opens his mouth, it's just something stupid that comes out. So just jumping out here for a second, just to show what McGuinty is complaining about. Poilievre put together this 6-point plan here. It says, call up Canadian Armed Forces troops to the border along with military helicopters and surveillance. They want to have helicopters and military flying along the border to catch the goons. What is wrong with that? Add at least 2,000 border agents, extend CBSA powers along the entire border, not just the crossings, install border surveillance towers, as well as truck-mounted drone systems to spot border incursions, install high-powered scanners at all major land crossings and shipping ports. The shipping ports basically have nothing. They scan less than 1% of the sea cans, and on trains, they scan nothing. These scanners can see through walls, containers, or vehicles to spot the bad stuff, and stolen cars. Track departures so government officials know when deportees are in Canada illegally. What is wrong with this plan? This sounds fantastic. The question is now, with Justin Trudeau making all those promises to Donald Trump, what is David McGuinty actually doing at the border? He's not doing any of these? Now, in complete contrast here of what McGuinty just said, just take a look at this.
As the U.S. tariff threat looms over Canada, due in part to border security concerns from the U.S. president, today RCMP may have made a small dent in the worry. Mounties foiled an illegal crossing along the Manitoba border, and we're getting an inside look at how it was detected using state-of-the-art technology. With more on this, CTV's Taylor Brock joins us now live in studio. Taylor, there is video of this incident. What does it show?
Well, Marilee, in it, we see a group of 6 people crossing into Canada, 15 kilometers east of Emerson. The video was taken at night, and thermal imaging was used to detect the illegal crossing.
Yes, you're getting a clear view right now, but this did happen in the dark of night along the Manitoba border. Factoring in.
This video was taken January 14th at 7:30 p.m. RCMP say officers using a plane were patrolling the border when they noticed the group. Ground units were then called to the scene. The group was followed into a wooded area and arrested without incident.
We have the partnerships, the technology, and the resources in place to respond to the border and stop illegal activity.
And that's because we've got people there to do it, not just hoping that nobody goes and does it, like McGuinty there is suggesting.
Now, the wind chill at the time felt like -31, but police say the group was not dressed for the weather. They were turned over to the Canadian Border Service Agency. Among them was 1 person from Jordan, 3 from Sudan, 1 from Chad, and 1 Mauritanian. Their names and ages were not released.
Send them back home. That's where they go, on a plane right back home. Next up, we got an update here to that bombshell news I broke yesterday about the Conservatives releasing a report showing that doctors warned that the free safe supply street candy is not going to the intended recipients and it's being sold out in the market.
BC Conservatives are showing off some proof that drugs from the Safe Supply program are ending up on the street. It's a presentation from the Ministry of Health shown to law enforcement agencies across the province, acknowledging the extent of drug diversion. Richard Zussman has more.
An admission of failure.
We have a government that continues to publicly fund a program that is known to be putting drugs into the hands of criminals.
The BC Conservatives making public this Ministry of Health presentation made by the province's Special Investigative Unit directly to police last month, showing the province believes, quote, a significant portion of the opioids being freely prescribed by doctors and pharmacists are not being consumed by their intended recipient.
We've heard concerns about diversion from partners, and we have to tackle it. It's a priority. That's why the Ministry of Health stood up a special investigations unit.
The government's...
I don't trust Josie Osborne at all. Going back here, this lady, Josie Osborne, you can see her name's cut off there. This is the same lady that basically told Edison Motors that they're no longer able to speak at the Clean BC program after Edison Motors exposed how MNP was forcing companies who are doing green initiatives to go through NMP so they could siphon 20% of the multi-million-dollar grants. And when they brought this up to her, they were kicked out of their speaking role. There's some serious corruption here in the British Columbia government. On top of that, you got Ravi Kahlon, the housing minister of BC, who looks very much like he's caught up in conflict of interest projects with his own family. His family had a housing project that got denied, then he appointed someone in that town to get it approved. He also connected to a bunch of multiplexes in Prince George that were all purchased from the same guy only a year after that guy bought it, and they bought it for top dollar, like double the price. We're talking a gain of like $20 million. There's like serious stinky corruption in here, just like the Trudeau Liberals.
The government's prescribed alternatives program has received significant scrutiny. U.S. President Donald Trump mentioned BC directly around his concerns on fentanyl. The investigative unit continues to investigate drugs prescribed to addicts, ending up in the hands of organized crime.
Almost unbelievable. And one of the reasons I think that a public inquiry is absolutely necessary.
The presentation also includes active investigations, including more than 60 pharmacies breaking the rules by offering incentives, non-healthcare professionals witnessing the prescription of opioid disorder drugs, pharmacies offering incentives to doctors, housing and medical professionals, and some community housing staff requiring tenants to go to a specific pharmacy.
There's absolutely no excuse for bad actors, for any pharmacist or pharmacy to be engaged in the kinds of activities that are being alleged here.
She wants to talk about bad actors. She should look in the mirror. This is good that the Conservatives are bringing forward all this news about this. It's just disgraceful that David Eby has put this project forward, and now this is a part of the major problem we have here with Donald Trump and the whole border situation, the street fennel. Next up, we got this one here. Mark Nixon posting this. Frank Baylis, he's coming out and saying no more career politicians.
So today I'm happy to pronounce and give to you our government reform plan. We're going to put government back to work for Canadians. And this is a 3-point plan that is going to have government working. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to limit the terms of both senators and members of parliament. The second step is that we are going to redistribute the power that's been concentrated in the offices of the leaders of the different parties. And we're going to give it back to the Speaker of the House. We're going to give it back to the members of parliament. And we're also going to give some of that power to the citizens of Canada. And finally, we're going to introduce a second chamber. And this is going to make the government far more productive.
So basically, he goes on to say here, no more politicians, as he said, they can't be in there for more than 10 years. We need to change this, though, so senators are actually elected, not appointed. For the part about the Canadians being involved, if there's a petition that has over 70,000 signatures, Canadians can then digitally or electronically be able to vote on it. We mentioned Karina Gould earlier. I wonder if he's getting enough fundraising as well, the $150,000, because, I mean, he's not put out hardly anything himself. Next up on Far Off Ripoff, we got $20 million being spent on African Union Commission to support implementation of Africa's Union Agenda for 2060, a strategic plan of sustainable and inclusive development. It's always the same junk from these guys. We also got this one here, $48,000. This project aims to strengthen local capacity, youth population, climate resilience, and the community Gales Point Village in Belize. Why would we spend our money on that? Why would we have anything to do with Belize? We also got this one, $34,000. This one's funny. It's for a film. It's called Climate Change Heroes, Awareness About Climate Change and Heroes Through Films and Visual Aid. So they're now making propaganda and they're using our money to pay for propaganda on this. And we got this one here, Complete Caribbean, $5 million. They want to spend that on enhancing gender responsive and climate resilient growth, improving business enabling environment and supporting firms. Just more wasted money. And finally, for this episode, we've got this one here, $12.5 million. This one is very goofy. It says climate resilience of indigenous peoples in Bolivia, Colombia, Guatemala, Peru, affirming indigenous rights and enabling self-determination. I'm sorry, like, what does that even mean? Improve climate resilience? The indigenous people invented climate resilience. It should be the other way around. They would be teaching us how to survive in the climate better. What is this? Somebody tell me what this is. And next up, we got this one here, Cat Canada posting Karina Gould. She's talking about housing and saying it'll need a industrial effort.
That we have a housing crisis in Canada, and it's going to take an industrial effort to make sure that we are housing people, getting first-time home buyers into the market, and providing affordable housing right across the housing continuum.
Yeah, that's because you guys broke the whole system. Of course it's going to take an industrial effort.
And while the Liberal government has done a lot when it comes to our national housing strategy, there is much more that we can do.
No.
Housing needs to be a human right in this country, and we need to be able to fulfill that promise. And
yeah, these guys bring in so many people, 1.5 whatever million people every single year to break our immigration system and then say, oh, don't worry, we're going to fix the problem now. Don't worry, guys, we got you. We weren't pumping up our own real estate. No, we weren't doing that.
And so as Adam mentioned, there are 3 pillars to this plan. One is ending homelessness. We talk about the toxic drug supply, we talk about overdoses, we talk about addictions. But if we are truly going to get people off the streets, we need to make sure that they have supportive housing to go to. So this plan would create an accord program with the provinces and territories where the federal government works to house people through an expanded rapid housing initiative, and then has agreements with provinces and territories to provide those wraparound supports to make sure that people can be successful and they can stay off of the streets and lead successful lives.
Hypocrisy coming from her. It's hard to believe she thinks she can lead the Liberal Party when she's even too scared to leave her own comments open. She, like Trudeau, wants the government to control everything and for her to control the government. Imagine Liberal NDP government having control over all the housing because they declare housing a human right. Our housing system was fine before the Liberals got in. It'll take some time, but it'll be fine after they leave. Got this one here, breaking. Donald Trump orders General Services Admission to terminate every single media contract expensed by the agency. Trump administration officially wrote, pull every single media contract, GSA, Politico, BBC, Bloomberg. They are just completely cleaning house down there. It is quite incredible to watch. We need Doge Canada up here. Meanwhile, we've got these friendly characters in the streets complaining. It's baffling. I don't know why they're complaining in Canada. They should go down to America if they don't like what Trump is saying about Gaza.
This man has got to go! The occupation's gotta go! This man has got.
You guys got to go to America or go home, go somewhere else. In our streets doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. Embarrassing. Lost souls do better. Be better, be Canadian. There we have it. David McGuinty, not a fan of adding more security to the border, which begs the question, are they just going to be sitting around twiddling their thumbs and come 30 days from now, they'll say, yeah, we got everything in place. And Donald Trump's going to be like, nope, I don't think so.